Oh, hey guys.
Hey everybody.
Shane's making me laugh.
Yeah. Cheers everybody. Okay, we are going to talk about PDQ deploy.
Forget about it. Okay, we won't forget about it. Yeah, and I gotta jump in on that whole Christmas thing. We opened a new bottle of Ardbeg, which is definitely like Christmas here for us. So.
Corey Vrecken, that's a little harder to find as opposed to the regular. Yeah, it's, the Ardbeg 10 is the easiest to find, and they're both great. In fact, I don't think that there's a huge difference to justify the price difference between Corey Vrecken and 10, but I'll take Corey Vrecken.
Yeah, you guys are snobs.
I'm happy with it.
I like drinking with you guys because you pick out really good stuff.
10 is a lot cheaper.
Is it really?
Than the Corey Vrecken. Yeah, yeah. All right.
So a little education on whiskey this morning, or scotch, excuse me.
Now we'll talk about some tech stuff.
We'll turn it up to 11.
Turn it up to 11?
Yeah,
deploy 11. Hey, nice.
Spinal Tap.
I've been waiting years to say that.
I was just walking in, and Sean was in the other room talking with Annie about Spinal Tap. Yeah. We talked about our favorite song. One of my favorite songs is Adam's favorite from them. It's "Tonight I'm Gonna Rock You Tonight."
I still have not seen Spinal Tap. I haven't seen it, guys.
Their second album is called "Break Like the Wind."
Break Like the Wind.
All right, let's go ahead and rip this thing out.
Rip it out.
Speaking of breaking like the wind.
You can keep cracking those kind of jokes. I am not going to be able to do this without just sitting here grinning from ear to ear. Hey, RTFM guys, F1, see what's new.
Yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about. We'll start there and then move into some of these new features. You can also just go to that main node. Welcome to PDQ deploy. What's new in this version? There was a fairly big. You might have actually. Yeah,
there it is.
It was probably already open. Let's see.
It was.
All right.
All right.
There was a pretty big feature. There was a pretty big feature that we ended up putting off until 12.
Really? Which one's that one?
That's the schedule. Summary.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that one. It's kind of interesting. We were talking about this morning how that all comes together, and it's a good thing we pushed that off because it can be a little confusing.
Yeah, and we just wouldn't have been able to get it out in September. So anyway, we'll talk about what we've got now. There's obviously been a second point release. We call that release 2 a point release just to fix some bugs that are introduced. So, but the crux of it all was thrown into 11 release 1.
Yep.
All right, and you're going to notice some changes right away, even in free mode. And that is when you open, we'll talk about this. You open, we removed the default install step.
Yeah, now you got to pick one.
Yeah. But when we first started this, PDQ deploy, install step was almost everything. But we've introduced so many steps, and we've found from our customers that a lot of them rarely have an install step.
As a first, some kind of utilities run, or you're going to go verify something.
They'll have a PowerShell step, or they'll have a registry step. A command step to import the registry, stuff like that. So we removed that, so you no longer have to have an install step. And you can just choose. We'll show you how that works. And then a feature that is not going to hit everybody, but boy, when it does hit, it's a big deal. And that is those. We'll show you an example of this. Those few applications that actually require the MSI install source.
Oh, the sourcing, that's a good one.
You deploy an MSI file or an application from an MSI to a machine. We push that down to a staging directory, install it, and then delete that directory. There are some applications that don't like that because they need that source.
They want to see the
it really isn't old. That's kind of poor
it's
form.
Old school, yeah.
That was a big deal back in 2003. So, but some of these companies are out there, and some they haven't really changed.
I'm drinking to those guys updating their process.
So we've made a way for you to account for those few instances.
Also made it so you can drag and drop changes in your step order. It's I don't know, kind of an easy thing, I guess.
And then let's go ahead and I'm going to grab. I want to actually go out.
Sounds like a.
And we're going to talk about this. There's actually. I'm going to go to. Let's go grab something from Adobe Flash.
Okay.
Just so you know, there is. We are planning on not offering the Adobe Flash All IE. There's going to be a knowledge base that Jason has written that we're going to publish. Yeah. It's just become.
And a video.
And a video, yeah. We already made a video.
Yeah, it's just ugly.
It is. We're talking about, there's like 10 different patches involved in that, and
they're not released at the same time. And it's like then you're waiting on it, so it's just.
And then the versions differ, so and it gets confusing as we say, okay, well, there's a new Windows 8.1 Flash mid-month. we have to update all IE, and then everyone's like, well, why is the Windows 7 and the Windows 10, that's the same as the previous? It's a cluster. So for Adobe Flash,
A cluster what?
yeah, for Adobe Flash, just grab Adobe Flash for IE for your XP and 7.
Do them individually. It works much better, guys. It really does.
But let's go ahead and grab, I'm just going to go ahead and grab a couple of these. Why not? We'll show you, we do now actually format in the description field. A lot of URLs are there. We want you guys to read the descriptions of these applications.
Please.
In fact,
We put information in there that is important. If there's a password you need to change, if there's an INI file you need to adjust, that's where we put that info.
Yep, and support will get a lot of emails saying, why is it this way, where the answer is truly, it's just right there. It's right there in there. So when you open up
RTFD, is that?
Yeah, when you open up
RTFD,
when you open up your your deploy package, you will see that URL before it wasn't formatted. Just hit control, click, and that will that'll open up your control. Yeah, you have to hit control.
Okay.
But that answers
go read it,
questions. Yeah. Please. So we throw information in there. It's to get to get there. You click your package properties. We mentioned that the
I
install
thought we
step.
did it just because we wanted to make our packages look like they were.
So you have new package. Notice there is no install step.
Yeah, you gotta pick
Instead,
one out.
there are steps, and you just click on the new step and choose which one you want. And if you're in free mode, you're still limited to the install step. One install step in free mode, but in Pro or Enterprise, it's a smorgasbord.
Have at it, guys. Yeah.
Go for it. Build what you want to build. Let's talk about this, what we mentioned with the installation source. I've got,
okay.
And here's a great application. I've been using this application since the 90s. It's
The 90s? Wow.
Snagit. It's from TechSmith. Love it.
It really has existed since the 90s? There's not a whole lot in IT that...
I started using it in 97. Anyway, so Snagit, I've got a package here for Snagit. And there's actually a Snagit deploy tool that you use to actually customize your installation. We have a video on that, but I want to show you what happens when you don't. Snagit's one of those that does kind of require this. So in your install step, and this only works in an install step. Notice I've got my MSI specified, and then there's the transforms file that you build with their deploy tool. In the options, there is an installation requires source. If you are deploying something that does require, like if somebody needs to modify it, or even in some cases open it up and it needs to access that MSI, you need to click this.
Yeah.
You'll know fairly quickly if that's the case, because you'll get feedback from people that something's not working. You do not want to have this on every time.
As a default, yeah.
You really don't.
Not a good move.
Because what we're going to do is actually take all of the install files and store them on the target computer. So I'm going to show you what happens if you want. Let's just, I'm going to uncheck that. And I think I've got, I want to make sure, I've got a Snagit collection here.
Let's, we got a new guy working here. His name's Matt. Let's install it on Matt's machine. Come on, let's mess with the new guy.
No. You're such a tool, dude.
Dude, I love that. I mean, come on. I get a like, Matt, hey, my Snagit now doesn't work. What's going on? It'll be great.
Let's go to Carla. I'm just going to remote desktop in here to Carla.
You are totally not going to mess with somebody.
I'm not.
Come on, live. I'm going to go back. My machine's going to be jacked. Everybody's deploying stuff to me.
We have a site license for Snagit. I've got another package that actually pushes it out with the license information. I made this one an eval. Swear you're a tool. Okay.
What?
So here's what's going to happen. Notice I've got the Snagit now, but I unchecked that. Let's go ahead. Pardon me. Let me go to deploy. I'm going to push this out to Carla.
Okay. We're going to watch it install or attempt to install?
Yeah, we'll kick this out. So this is going to install it, but where does it go? I mean, if you ever looked at the under the hood knowledge base, when we deploy something to a machine, we push it out to the admin arsenal directory under the Windows. It's remember, Windows is admin. What the hell? Windows is admin. There we go.
I'm a tool. I love it.
So under PDQ deploy runner,
yeah.
You'll see service 1 exec. This is where we're installing it from, but this gets wiped out at the end of the deployment. There it is. Looks like it's getting wrapped up. So, yeah, let's wait for it for a second.
So, are we going to see, any type of error? Is it going to say it actually installed it?
You'll see it.
Okay.
So once this is wrapped up installing, I'm going to try to open it, and in this case, it's probably going to fail because it needs that source MSI just to do some last configurations. So notice in PDQ deploy runner that service 1
it's been cleaned up. Okay.
But I should have Snagit.
TechSmith. There we go.
And there it is, Snagit. So you open it up. Boom. It says, hey, I need this source information, and it tells you exactly where it installed from. Hey, this is where it installed from. Where is it? It was expecting it there. So a couple of ways around this. Number one, you could use a batch file in your install as your install file in your install step.
Yep.
Point to a batch file that exists.
Copied it out.
The batch file itself points to a UNC path where the MSI exists.
Okay.
That will be stored in the. That means when you try to open it up, it would try to open it up off that UNC. You're probably safe. Or if you want to do it with this new feature, say OK to that. Boom. I'm just going to uninstall. Just going to uninstall this real quick. If you want to do it, let's go down to Snagit. Boom.
Uninstall.
So let's while that's uninstalling, I'm going to come back out here to our package. I'm going to open up, go to that install step, go to the options, and just click installation requires source.
So that basically just going to keep that directory out there.
It's actually going to, instead of installing it from that service-x, it's going to throw it into another directory where it keeps those installs.
No kidding.
I will show you.
You will show me. Hey, do we have a question or anything? Keep rolling. Okay.
So it's been uninstalled. Now we'll push this out again to Carla. We'll just redeploy. Remember, we changed that to installation requires source. We'll come back out. I'm looking in Carla's Windows directory. You'll almost never do this. I'm just showing this to you since
you see what's happening in the.
Notice that now we've got not only service 1, but we have installers.
Okay.
That means that we see, oh, this needs to go here. We've got a GUID identifying this, and there are the install files.
Excellent.
And they will stay there so that if this is needed, which in this case, in Snagit's case, just opening it up for the first time, it is required. It'll be there. So
referenced.
That's now finished. Now I can come over here to Snagit, run it. So I want to just drive home the fact that you don't always need to do this. It just varies by.
It's there if you need it now.
In some cases, you can't uninstall without having the install source. Yeah, the way it's been changed since then is MSI, you still require the install source, but almost all vendors will take their MSI, rename it, throw it into an installers directory in the Windows directory that's hidden from everybody, so that when you uninstall, it will always go back and reference that. Yeah.
Does it do it with Snagit because it's an application from the 90s?
They update Snagit. TechSmith updates Snagit all the time.
Snagit is a great tool. I love it.
They really
is a great
do.
tool.
So there you go. It's up and running. I know. Do we have a question? Let's rock on.
First question from DJ Jazzy Jeff R. Dear Shane and Lex, if a deployment with multiple steps fails after successfully executing several steps, is there a way to redeploy only the steps that have yet to successfully run?
Now, there's a couple of ways I think you probably do that. One, go disable all the previous steps and then run it.
The quick answer for Jeff is no. Sorry.
What do you mean no? You got to modify it to do it. I mean, it can be done.
I'm talking.
It's not easy.
Is there a way? Is there a native feature to say only reinstall?
Pick up where you left off. No.
That is something that would be a little easier with an agent, which we're agentless right now.
Yeah,
as we've mentioned before, we are planning on having an optional agent in the future. We're drawing those out as we speak. That might be a feature that is enabled, but it would require an agent that kind of remembers the state.
Okay.
But I'm not saying that
being said, you could duplicate that and disable all the steps that ran and kick
so
it from there.
as Lex is saying, let's go out to something with multiple. Like we'll just go to Firefox here. If I wanted, if it succeeded on the first 2 but failed on the third one, yeah, you could come over temporarily, disable, save, redeploy to that machine, and it will pick up where it left off.
Yeah.
But obviously, while you're doing that, you don't want to deploy this out to a machine that's never had it.
Never had it, 'cause,
never had
yeah.
it. But so yeah,
Some caveats, yeah. Nothing.
your point is well taken. That there's a workaround for you, but it's not a native feature.
Yeah.
Sorry, bro.
Can you show the top level steps on the package?
Can we show the top?
So you've got package properties, and then underneath steps. Let's.
Yeah. So well, under steps, everything under steps. This is a new change. We're just trying to call this out, that you have your package properties, and this is very important. There are sometimes, in fact, look at this. I'm going to go back to the Snagit.
Yeah.
So my repository is not on UNC path. My
Okay.
repository is local, but Snagit I actually have installing from a UNC path. All right. Well, since my repository is on the local machine, where most of my package library packages go, I have my install. My copy mode set to push. That's what I usually want.
Yeah.
I usually just grab stuff from my local repository, push it out to the targets. Since Snagit exists on a file server,
It's a perfect time
I want to do
pull.
I want to do a pull, but I don't want to set that globally. So in package properties, I could change that copy mode just for Snagit to pull. What that does is it tells all my targets, I'm not pushing this out to you. You go out,
Grab it from the file.
grab it from the file share. It saves. It actually can save you a lot of time, depending on the size of the installation, and et cetera, et cetera.
And the network
So,
speed.
going back to JJ's wanting to show that top level. Package properties, this is where you want to set these things. Then under the steps, it truly is just
List of what you can do there.
the steps saying this is now where we kick off the meat. And obviously to add a new step, you simply click the new step button and choose what you want. Here we've got command steps, and then we have our install step. And you have so many, there's sleep steps, where I just want to stop processing for 60 seconds or whatever.
I usually execute that on myself around about 1 o'clock every day. I do. It works great, man.
Strike.
You guys love my little sign on my door that says nappy time? Come on.
Yeah, we love it because we know we don't have to hear you for the duration of nappy time.
I'm just going to put the intercom on and just snore. So everyone has to listen to me snore.
Horrible. All right. Do we have any other questions? All right. Yeah. Okay. So let's go back over here
I
to.
like it. JJ's driving it today. Do variables, guys. Now.
Who's the producer here? Who's the director?
Director, producer, get on.
So if you've noticed, we've right here in bullet point 4, variables can now be used in the email body. Basically, what this means, if you do use variables, specifically custom variables, I
Go
went
to
to
preferences, guys. Yeah.
In variables, you've got you can define your variables here. Obviously, there's also system variables, but you can define your variable. System variables are something that we provide, so you can't change those. Those are pushed down from us. But you can define all the variables you want, and then if you want to have those show up in your email body for your deployment, sorry, I'm going to go back to preferences. Go to mail server. Yeah, so I'm going to open up the full details here. You could obviously add a bunch. This is where you can place them. If you want to place a variable in the body of the email, this is the email that's sent out when when you have a deployment or a schedule that you say, I want to email the status report of this deployment or of this schedule.
You can now use custom variables.
Yeah,
there.
you can now use your own variables here, and whatever you have specified, you just store them in the body. We had quite a few people requesting that, saying, hey, we're using variables, actually in ways that we weren't really anticipating them using them.
Love that, though.
I do too. Learn a lot. So please expand the variables. An example of where you might want to use a variable just depends. If you're building a lot of applications that were like packaged in Inno, the packager, and you know that they're always going to have the same command line parameters, you could create a new variable. We'll just call this one Inno param, and you could do very silent. Very silent-y.
Sure.
Yeah, very silent. And there's so many. There's so many. You can throw whatever you want there, and then always just use @inno param in your parameters.
Yeah.
And save you some time. So that's one use
Little work
case.
up front, save you lots of time on the back end. Yeah,
But that also
requires thought.
yeah. And I can't believe I just did that. I'm smoking crack.
What do you mean you can't believe you just did that?
No, I did a forward slash or backslash like a moron. Oh, that's right.
That is a back.
Yeah.
Shouldn't that be a front
Yeah,
slash?
it should be a front slash.
Yeah.
Wait a second. I suck. Anyway, there you go.
You know, I didn't want to have to call that out, but you know, since
We'll
you called it yourself,
we'll call it the
it's like,
airbag. We'll call it the airbag.
it's like confession there.
We'll call it the
Forgive me, sysadmin.
Mm-hmm.
I suck. Is that how it works?
Okay, so yeah, sure.
Okay. Dear Shane and Lex, what is a best practice regarding machines kept in a frozen state? I've got them scheduled so they don't enter the retry queue if they fail, since they'll be rebooted frozen at the end of the maintenance schedule. Is that the best way to handle it, or is there a trick to get the retry window down to a very short time? Sincerely, Dr. Stephen V. for Vendetta.
Vendetta, or is it Van Halen? I mean, we've been talking bands, so.
Van Halen.
Anyway, okay.
Hey, Steven. Okay, when you say frozen, I'm assuming you're talking about deep freeze.
Deep freeze, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming. If you're on the chat right now and we're wrong, just say something. But so you've got machines that are in deep freeze. They have deep freeze, and so they're either in a frozen or a thawed state. If they are kept in you schedule them and they are in a frozen state. Let's see, rebooted. Okay, since they will be rebooted frozen at the end of the main. Okay, so that's probably a different webcast. There's actually a way you can do this.
Okay, well,
If you want to deploy, if you are using deep freeze, and you want to deploy something,
He is.
okay,
cool.
you want to deploy something that the machine is going to be in a thawed state, you can specify that. It's not native yet, but you can specify that using some command steps within PDQ deploy. I believe it's DFC is the deep freeze console or deep freeze command exe. So there's don't quote me on this one yet, but let's just say yeah, let's just say that we want to do this for you know what, there was a new 7-zip. This is old one. Anyway, let's say that you want to throw this into a deep freeze thawed state. You could create a new step, do the command, move this up. There's that new
feature.
That's a new feature, by the way, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, it's like we planted that.
You know, system root. One cool thing about deep freeze is they do throw this into the System32 and SysWow 64. I think it's SysWow 64 for 64-bit.
Easy to
SysWow
find.
64, DFC, and then it's something like reboot thawed or thaw at next reboot. I can't remember. There's a thing where you basically say thaw at reboot or something like that.
Check your documentation.
Yeah, check your documentation on DFC. What you would do is you'd say thaw at reboot, all right, and then another step. This time we're going to do a reboot step, and you like the reboot because if you do the reboot thaw, there's a reboot thawed parameter. If you do that, it's just going to reboot right away.
We don't get to control it in
and we
PDQ.
may lose connection to where we think there was an error and we didn't detect a reboot because it just happens right away. So it's like reboot at next thaw or something.
Yeah. Give deploy the control.
Yeah. So then you hit your reboot, and then when it comes back up, it's in a thawed state. You run this information.
Install.
Yep. And then you add a new step at the end, and this would be
freeze that bad
the
boy.
DFC. Next reboot frozen or something like that. I'm sorry, it's been a
Yeah,
while.
you have to look that up. But yeah.
And then do another reboot. And then you should be set to go. Then you know that machine is actually making these changes while it's in a thawed state.
Like Steven's saying, restart thawed is the command.
Restart thawed is
that different?
Restart
we wanna
thawed
restart
is where
frozen.
it reboots right there.
Okay.
And then restart frozen. But then there's restart or next restart thawed or something like that. Yeah, it's got next in there somewhere.
Like we said, check your DFC documentation.
Yeah, check your DFC documentation, but then initiate the reboot yourself.
Yeah.
By doing that, PDQ deploy knows we are rebooting, we are going to lose connection. When it comes back up, we'll pick up where we left off.
Yep.
All right? Yeah, that's
a good question. I like that
That's a
one.
great question, and I'm kind of keen to know how many people use deep freeze, because we are really considering adding some more integration
Yeah.
natively into that.
We got more? Bring it on.
Dear Shane and Lex, is there a way to have another package deploy upon a failed deployment? For instance, I have an auto deploy that sends out Java. Sometimes the computers fail and require the Java alternate package. Sincerely, he went to Jared J.
He went to Jared.
That's a great question. Unfortunately, that is not a trigger where you say, if this package fails, try this. Yeah, there's no trigger for that. So it's really just going to have to be when you do your deployments and you see for Java and you see, okay, these machines failed, of copying those machines and then trying the alternate.
I bet you money, though. You brought Chris in here, he'd be like, I could PowerShell that. Chris could he could PowerShell that. But there may be a way to PowerShell.
PowerShell himself out of a cardboard box. Yeah.
Well, or into one, either way. But,
Yeah.
That's how power.
there may be a
PowerShell is.
PowerShell, yeah. Maybe.
There is not a native feature for that, Jared. Sorry, buddy. But out of curiosity, if you're on, I would like to know. I mean, when we first introduced the Java alternate, it was like, I don't know, 8 or 9% of computers seemed to fail for a Java and required the Java alternate. And we start seeing that number go down, where people are saying, actually, I don't have that many failures anymore. Because Oracle really cleaned up their installer.
Time out. Did Oracle clean it up, or did we clean it up with the alternate?
No, Oracle actually cleaned up a little
Really?
bit. Yeah, they made it a lot better.
You're asking how many people?
Yeah, how many people still need to? I mean, I know a lot of people
Or
just
use
use
the alternate,
alternate no matter what, which we don't recommend. But I was just
Yeah.
wondering how many. Jared's mentioned he's got some failures. What percentage of your machines fail on Java?
If you
That'd
still
be
need it, type 1 now.
Type 1 now.
We'll give you the survey results at the end of the show.
Text a 1 to 877 something 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 tilde.
Dark side.
How do I dial
We
a
have any more-
tilde on a phone?
Do we have any more questions?
Next question from Sergio A. Dear Shane and Lex, is there a way to have a package that fails a step continue installing the next steps while still getting a failure notice? Currently, I can either stop deployment or ignore with success notice.
Okay. When you say notice, here's one thing you can do. Here's one thing.
Yeah.
It will continue. So if you say, let's go to 7-zip here. And I'm going to actually force this one to fail.
Okay.
All right, because unless 7-zip is running, I'm going to remove the 128. I'm going to remove the 128 success code. 128, and when you do a task kill, means
It wasn't running.
yeah, that process wasn't running. We want to call that a success, but in this case, I'm going to say it's a failure. But I still have the error mode continue. Now, if you say stop deployment with a success, that means it sees an error and it just stops it saying it's a success. Or stop deployment with an error, that's the default. If you continue, you will see that step fail
In the log.
in the log, but it will continue even if it fails. So we'll just push this out to Carla.
Just abusing her today, are you?
Why not?
I still say we should have done it to Matt's machine.
While we're doing that.
FNG stuff, right? You mess with the new guy, right?
Yeah. I'm going to go out and grab the new 7-zip anyway.
That's,
All right, so I'm going to go back over here to this old 7-zip. So notice it passed to step 1. It returned with 128,
Error, yep.
but you can still see that error. So
in the log. I mean, I guess, do you want like a
That's
notice
as
coming
close
up
as-
like
yeah.
this error stopped in an email? That doesn't exist.
that's as close as you can get,
Yeah.
where it fails, but you have it set to continue. Don't stop with a success, because what stop with a success is the exact opposite of stop with a failure. It will stop it, but instead of showing us a failure, it'll show a success.
Okay,
Do
what's
continue.
What's
Do
the
continue.
logic behind that? Why would you ever want to stop with a success?
Oh, there's a number of reasons, actually. Let's say that's a very good question, Lex. Let's say that you want to find out if someone is running Internet Explorer.
Okay.
So you would use a task list command in a command step
Okay.
and say, can you find Internet Explorer? And if it finds it, it would return a 0.
Okay.
Okay. If it doesn't find it, it will return a 1. So if it finds it and you don't want to proceed, if they're running Internet Explorer, you don't want to proceed.
Want to kill their process.
You would just mark that as, you could just mark that as remove 0 or something. It sees that IE is running and then it just stops. but you don't want to clutter up your failures. You just know that this needs to be done at a later time.
Okay, I got to say this though, man. Okay, I just like run it, kill their command. You know, you're IT, man. Digital deity. That's what I'm talking about.
If Lex ever looks for a job with any of you guys, you're just going to remember
like,
all this time where he.
This is not the guy we want. He's an
Dude,
a-hole.
I've seen your videos.
Dude, during the pre-show when you're talking, it was so perfect. Annie was laughing. She's like, "I'm going to put this on a mug." It was when you said, "I don't hate end users. I just don't like them." And I was like, "Oh well, all right. You cleared that. You cleared that up."
I didn't know, and now I do.
I don't hate them. I just don't like them.
Yeah.
All right, hey everybody. Thanks very much for stopping by.
New features are great. Try them out. Let us know if you like them.
Mm-hmm. I think. Did we decide what we're going to do next week? We'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out.
We have some ideas based off a lot of feedback, and I think you'll probably like it. But we'll nail it down before we commit to it.
Well, there's one for us, huh?
Cheers, everybody. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks for being a part of the webcast this week. Congratulations to Jeffrey R. and Jared J., winners of PDQ swag. Send us an email at webcast@adminarsenal.com. We'll get that out to you. And thank you once again for being part of the webcast. If you have any other questions, hit up our support forums, and we'll see you back here next week.